Today we are going to talk about sports analysis for tennis. Tennis is an intermittent sport. There are physiological demands and biomechanical demands. Let's first start with physiological demands. Tennis requires anaerobic capacity, repeated sprint ability, and aerobic capacity to withstand long tennis matches. Matches can last from an hour and a half, 2 hours, to multiple hours, and there are no substitutions in tennis. So first, let's talk about creating workouts so that we can cover all of these demands. We need to teach our athletes to use phosphocreatine system. Phosphocreatine system requires long periods of recovery, so the work to rest ratios are at least 1:20. So we are going to make sure that they're fresh, and then they go into explosive movements, really high intensity activities when they're fresh, and that teaches them how to use phosphocreatine system. Then we'll give them plenty of recovery so that they can do that again. So the best way to do that is probably to use maximum velocity days to train them for that. Also, we will be able to achieve higher speeds as they play. Even though tennis players do not achieve maximum velocities on the tennis courts, maximum velocities days will improve their accelerations, and that will help them win points. So now, during maximum velocity days, they can have long rest periods, and during their warm-ups, we can teach them how to maintain proper posture and create that knee drive, dorsiflexion of the ankle, foot strike, all of these things that will make them fast and allow them to move efficiently on the court. So maximum velocity is one of their workouts, and I would suggest probably about 40 meters or maybe even 20 meters, depending on the athletes we're working with, to start with substantial recovery time, maybe 4 minutes, and then repeating that 2 to 5 times, and then having a proper cool down and recovery period for them for next day. So second, we want to work on glycolysis. Glycolysis requires less rest time. For example, it could be about 1 to 6, 1 to 8, 1 to 12 work to rest ratios, and we'll give them shorter periods of rest, and then they can work on their glycolysis. Once they work on their glycolysis, the next energy system will be aerobic, and so that will help them improve their aerobic capacity so they don't get fatigued closer to the end of the matches. So they can maintain intensity, and they can also maintain proper positions to prevent biomechanical injury. Average and worst case scenario. On average, points last from 2 to 10 seconds. However, worst case scenarios would be 15 to 25 second rallies with minimal recovery, with a lot of change of direction. Athletes cover from 2 to 5 kilometers during match play. However, that distance is composed of hundreds of accelerations and similar magnitude of decelerations. However, decelerations mean much higher mechanical load. So that leads us to the next kind of workout, acceleration to deceleration. We need to train our athletes how to decelerate properly. We need to train the proper movement, proper joint centration, making sure that the hip and knee and ankle are bent during the deceleration and the force is absorbed gradually. We need to train them about penultimate step for the deceleration so they can slowly decelerate and spread out that stress. And most importantly, we need to train them how to use their muscular system. Muscles are supposed to absorb 75-80% of the stress, so that stress does not go into the tissues that are not designed to absorb it, such as ACL and meniscus. So about only 20% of the stress is supposed to go into those structures. However, if the muscles are weak or not trained properly to absorb stress, it can be much higher stress on those structures, and that's when we see injuries, unfortunately. So it leads us to the third workout, because most of the time when athletes move on the court, they change directions. So the third workout would be change of direction workout, and for this one, it's really good to work on T-drill. For example, T-drill is composed of forward running, lateral movement, and also back paddling. So we can teach our athletes to do those movements and to move properly so that they can move efficiently and with minimal risk of injury. So most common injuries are ankle injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries, lumbar spine injuries, shoulder and wrist and elbow. Modifiable factors here. If we expose them to frequent change of direction, if we teach them how to absorb shock properly, how to decelerate, how to spread the stress across multiple steps and multiple muscle groups, then the athletes will be more efficient and reduce the risk of injury. Now, for the first workout, we would have maximum sprint ability. For the second workout, it would be acceleration into deceleration, and the third workout would be change of direction. All of these workouts have to be included in their frequent training so that they can be properly conditioned for match play.